So welcome back to part 2 of wild kayaking the River Gipping. Everything's wild these days, isn't it? Wild swimming, wild camping. This is wild kayaking in the sense that there's no right of navigation down here. And so we're just winging it and hoping we don't find anybody who objects. We did the first part from Stowmarket to Alder Carr this time last year. It was in May, so this is a year on. That's my new boat. I bought it from the Scouts in Thetford for 80 quid. Very pleased with it.
It's quite nice here.
And not easy to get in the river at Alder Carr, but this little place is okay. It's a bit of a gravelly edge, so got in and got started without even getting my feet wet. And there you can see where we had to come down the bank. And there's some people walking along there. They're on the really very excellent Gipping Valley footpath, which goes all the way from Stowmarket right down to Ipswich. Belinda went into the marvellous Alder Carr and Deli and got me a lovely cheesy pasty thing, and it was great. So off we go. I haven't done this for nearly a year, so I think I can remember what to do. Left to go left. That's where we started, Alder Carr, and we set off round the corner by the sewage works, which we didn't smell at all, so that's a good thing. On the right is the fishery, and you didn't get time to see, but there's some fences there because they're trying to keep the otters from this river out of the fishery because they devastate the stocks. So we're going on down the river. Nice little piece, a little bit of overhanging stuff, but nice easy paddle on down. And there's the footbridge as you come towards Needham Market Lakes. There is a cut off to the right. Can you see it on the left hand side of the map there? And it goes down. It's labelled up as Old River, and it's a mile and a half or so before it joins back up again. But it's a bit of a drop down, and that wasn't the way we wanted to go anyway. We wanted to go the other way and go on round by the mill. So here we come to Bosmere Lock and Mill. Not easy to get round it. I had to clamber out on the left bank up through a load of stinging nettles. Adam decided that he would go over. It's not all that deep there, but I went up here by the Teapot and Duck, something like that it's called. They do a nice cup of tea in there, recommend it. And then on down through Bosmere Loch, I put it back in on the left hand side. Here's Adam going over the tiny little waterfall at the bottom end of the loch. And that's me getting back in again, which isn't too bad at the beginning of the day, but I look a lot wearier by the end of it, you'll see. So, on down the river. That's the first obstacle we've met. Then under the road bridge of the 1078, there's only 2 road bridges in the next 5 miles, because the River Gipping is sandwiched between the A14 and the railway, and there's not much roads that go down this way at all. So, like last year, some of this is a bit overgrown with the reeds, not as dense as last year. I think we were a tiny bit earlier, and it also hadn't been very warm. But it wasn't long before we came to a fallen tree, and everything backs up there, including all this plastic. Why do people just chuck stuff in the river or not take it home with them? If you bring something into the countryside, take it home with you. It's not anybody else's job to take it home or to even provide you with a litter bin. It's your job. So now we're coming to Riverside Farm and Lock. I think those houses behind me you can rent, like Airbnb type thing, these ones. And you've got a landing stage and a boat. I think they're for rent. Nice little place if you wanted a break. Under a very low footbridge, can you see the pylon behind? Because those electricity pylons are very good markers for navigation. So under this low footbridge, and then into, well, the Gipping River Trust call it Creeting Lock, and the Environment Agency called it Riverside Lock. But it's a bit of a deep one, and we decided to carry round. As always, the Environment Agency have overburdened this thing with notices and warnings. No swimming, no diving. Great. It's about 10 feet down, or a bit more, into about 9 inches of water. No diving. There's just no end to it. I think it's littering to just put up signs everywhere. So back in the water, the other side, a narrow little stream with a 90-degree bend in it, which wasn't very easy in Adam's longer canoe. And then that's where that leat comes back in again, the one we saw upstream of Bosmere Lock. And here we've hit some of the reed growth. This is a struggle getting through this stuff. But it wasn't as bad as last year. And on down, this was another beautiful section of the river. Lots and lots of fish. Lots of wildlife. This is Pip's Ford, which has to be my favourite because there is no need to get out your canoe. You can just go straight on through. There's no weirs left, so you just paddle on down. And then on the right there's some sort of floodable wetlands. This was full of curlews that were crying out beautifully. They're also called peewits, and they're also called plovers, but peewit is their kind of call. Very distinctive once you get to know it. And then you can see the railway on the right, and the end of those wetlands also on the right, and then the river winds its way down. This is a very peaceful bit. You're quite a long way from the A14 and you can't hear the road noise. So this is where we stopped for lunch. I think it had taken us about 2 hours to get to this point, and we'd probably only done about 2.5 miles. It was slow progress. And then we got to one of the things I particularly come to see, which is the new footbridge at Balaam. And the Gipping Trust have built this thing. It's a thing of beauty. They put a lot of work and a lot of time and effort into this. It's got lovely long ramps, and so if you've got somebody in a wheelchair, or if you've got one of those mobility scooters, you could easily go up the ramp on one side, across the bridge, and down the other, because the footpath swaps sides at this point. But they've done a really lovely job of restoring this bridge. Just on the northern side is Combretovium, Roman fort and settlement. I think Combretovium means 5 ways. I think there was 5 roads that came. And this is a kind of shallow area, Pip's Ford, where they could cross the river, and it's been occupied since the Iron Age times. We're going through here some fennel. I didn't know there was a watery version of fennel, but if you rubbed it between your fingers, you could certainly tell that it was fennel. And then on down this quite serene part of the river, still quite a long way from the road noise of the A14. We saw buzzards and kites, kingfishers. Quite a lot of work has been done. I don't know if it was the River Gipping Trust or Environment Agency, but quite a lot of those trees that had fallen have been cut back, chainsawed back, so thank you for that. Here we arrive at Balaam Mill. And got a bit exhausted about getting out. There wasn't anywhere at all obvious to get out left or right bank. It wasn't very deep, there was a bit of a ledge. So just stood up on there, let the boat go down and clambered down. Have you noticed that green stuff in the sea, on sea rocks, is very, very slippy, but green stuff in fresh water isn't very slippy. So sit down gently, clonk, and over the little edge and off down through Balaam Lock. There is a road bridge here, but it's a road that is now a dead end, so I don't expect they get very much traffic over it at all. You can see it just there, look. There, that's the road bridge. And the mill, very picturesque little spot that few people have ever seen. It wasn't long before we came to a completely blocked up piece where a tree has come down across the river. It was impassable. Everything is built up against it. And in the end, we just had to pull away to the left bank and then walk round and then put it back in again. I thought it'd be a good idea to hold on to this tree and lever myself back in, but it didn't really work. Holding on to solid objects when you're trying to get in or out of a canoe seems like a good idea, but it often isn't, and this is just getting further and further away. And you can hear Adam starting to get more and more amused with his poor old dad's struggling.
It needs a bit more practice. Hooray! That's nicely done. We just had that part of the edit.
So here's Adam's attempt. A bit better than mine, but not exactly balletic. Clonk. Another fallen tree, but this one you could just about rock it over, look. And then some more serious congestion. Heaving yourself through like this, I didn't realise how much it was using my stomach muscles until the next day. I could hardly breathe. And we've arrived at Shamford Lock. These always look kind of scary from when you arrive, but when you look at them from below, they're never as tall as you think they are. So this one we could step over again onto a ledge. Down, there's usually a ledge at the bottom of these things. Take it steady, and it's quite easy to get in when you're just in a foot of water. It looks like the river will just go straight on at the end of Shamford Lock, but it doesn't. It goes immediately left. Look, can you see that little path through the reeds? There it is, 90 degrees left, and then you have to force your way through and then turn 90 degrees right. We're on that bit of river in the middle. Can you see it's quite wide? And I thought we'd strayed onto one of the lakes. I wasn't at all sure we were still on the river, but we continued on down and it was beautiful. Can you see that train on the right hand side just making its way towards Ipswich? So this paddle down through here is probably the most beautiful part of the whole trip. Nice and wide, nice and clear, very beautiful. More wildlife, lots of fish. And then under the railway bridge, I was very pleased to see this railway bridge, because it meant we were getting towards the end. The river loops under the railway and then loops out again, and you get to the outskirts of Great Blakenham, a place I'd never been to. And you come in past some houses and this boat. And then you're at Blakenham Lock, which was another one where it wasn't at all obvious that you could get out and carry round. I think you would get out on the right hand side, carry between the houses, go over the bridge and get in on the left hand side. But just stepping down wasn't too much of a problem. If you look carefully, you can see that my shirt is wet at this point. because just upstream of Blakenham Lock, as we passed under another fallen tree, I had capsized, much to Adam's amusement. And then just downstream of Blakenham Lock is this lovely kind of pool, and I think the locals get in the water here and splash about, certainly all the dogs do. And then off down into the kind of industrial edge of Blakenham. Back under the railway bridge for the second time, so that's the end of that little loop. And then again on the left there's some more lakes. I think these are fishing lakes. And then you can just see the traffic on the A14 at the top of the screen. I was pretty tired by this point and not very pleased to find yet another fallen tree right across the river. I went extreme left and managed to wedge myself just about through, round and under. Adam clambered out onto the tree and then got back into his boat, which took more agility than I had at this stage of the day. So on round the corner, and we're arriving now at Claydon. Under the 1113 Gipping road bridge, and then we're arriving. See where that white van is? That's the Claydon picnic area. Good place to park, free, easy access, and there's me finishing strong. But this is a nice place to get picked up because there's even a little concrete slip, so you can put your boat in or get your boat out there quite nicely. So that was a very slow trip. It was very enjoyable, but it was slow. I think we took about 4 hours to do about 5.5 miles, which is slow. Even ambling in a canoe, you should be doing a couple of miles an hour. But it was because of the carry-rounds, which were slow, and the trees and the obstructions in the river, so that slowed us down quite a bit. But this is now further on down, looking towards Ipswich, further than we got, but where we'll be going next time. So come and see next time what kind of adventure it is getting from the picnic site at Claydon all the way to the sea, as we do part 3 of Stowmarket to the sea.